Earlier this month, Harvard President Claudine Gay testified before the House Committee on Education alongside other university presidents to discuss anti-Semitism on college campuses. Now, the hearing was held in response to rising concerns about anti-Semitic incidents on campus, including harassment, discrimination, and hateful speech. During the hearing, Gay declined to answer questions about whether hypothetical scenarios involving anti-Semitic speech would violate university policies. Critics argued that her answers were evasive and lacked a clear stance against anti-Semitism. Some accused her of prioritizing academic freedom over the safety and well-being of Jewish students. Others questioned her commitment to combating anti-Semitism on campus. Now, following the hearing, some members of Congress, alumni, and donors called for Gay's resignation. However, Harvard's Board of Overseers this week expressed its unanimous support for Gay and her leadership. Now, let me first say I find all forms of discrimination despicable, whether it happens on a college campus, the grocery store, or the VFW. That's why I do a weekly segment called Racist of the Week, to expose the stupidity and hypocrisy of such short-sighted thinking. I do, however, find it odd that this got all the way to a congressional hearing in weeks. It took 10 months to get a vote on the George Floyd Policing Act, and that man met his end on camera in front of the whole world. And guess what? Not a single Republican voted for it, and we're still waiting on that one. But let's put that to the side for just a moment. College kids, any kids, deserve to feel safe on campus. Well, then why didn't this address or even mention Islamophobia, which is also on the rise? It's almost like you're asking me to consider one wrong, but not another. In this case, we have to consider the source. And let's start with Elise Stefanik, who was the loudest of Gay's critics in Congress. The same Elise Stefanik who stood silent during Trump's many anti-Semitic remarks and just last week voted to keep George Santos in Congress. The same Elise Stefanik who was removed from a Harvard advisory committee for refusing to certify the 2020 election. She is our moral compass here. Yeah, I'm sure she's not bitter at all. I didn't get any of that from all that yelling and grandstanding. Claudine Gay has suffered attacks on her character and especially her record. You know, the record that includes a BA from Stanford, a PhD from Harvard, being a Stanford professor, a Harvard professor, Harvard's dean of faculty, and finally Harvard's president. A school that's had multiple presidents with no PhD, but she has one from Harvard. I suppose that's not enough. She must be a diversity hire. Kind of like how Kamala Harris wasn't qualified to be vice president back in 2020. Though before that, I personally don't recall a national discourse on the qualifications of a vice president or a Harvard president. I'm starting to think this isn't about the resume. Well, what is it about? Look no further than an open letter by donor, billionaire hedge fund manager, and Harvard grad Bill Ackman. In it, he talks about, Gay's reaction to student leadership on campus. Then he goes into how her leadership was flawed before she was in office. And there it goes. There you have it. DEI and the Office of Equity, Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging. You were so close to presenting a misguided but at least sensible case, and you went and told on yourself. All that money, and you couldn't hire somebody to tell you that one paragraph just undermined everything that came before it. I'd have done that for $20. Now, why would DEI be mentioned in a letter in response to anti-Semitism on campus? Because that was the point. That was the whole point. That's why you got Elise Stefanik yelling on Capitol Hill when she never raised a finger to care about discrimination before. Now, the particularly disgusting thing here is using anti-Semitism as an inroads to attack DEI, because if I'm going to take your initial charges seriously, that would be to assume that you wanted all students to feel safe and comfortable on college campus. But I guess that privilege doesn't extend to those from underrepresented communities. But Reese, it should be all about merit. Okay, get rid of the legacy acceptances. Get rid of the nepotism. Get rid of the cronyism. Is it merit-based because he got in because his daddy donated the gym, or better yet, his granddaddy's college roommate, his cousin, twice removed on his mama's side? Is that merit-based? It's never been merit-based because if it was, there wouldn't have been a need for DEI in the first place. Until the 1970s, Harvard College admitted fewer than 12 black undergraduates every year. You think those were the only 12 who could have made it? And by the way, if you said yes, you're definitely racist. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Just go straight to jail. Oh, you know what? Actually, don't go just yet because I have a parting gift. Because there's been a debate amongst black peoples with some encouraging the attack on DEI because it makes all of us seem unqualified. You can see some of that sentiment here in this thread by filmmaker Eli Steele, where he laments Roxane Gay checking the, quote, black box to get ahead. That would mean the assumption is we all did and therefore aren't as capable as our white classmates and colleagues. And I know that feeling firsthand. I went to Columbia. I know those looks. But the funny thing is, he has no idea if Roxane Gay checked the black box. He just assumed she did, and in doing so disproved his own thesis. Bigots don't need DEI to think black people are unqualified. They'll do it anyway. You attacking diversity initiatives and holding them responsible for people's own biases? I can't think of much more white supremacist than that. Ironically, people usually think this way because they haven't been around enough black people. He goes on to say from the 1960s to the 1990s, the percentage of all blacks on campuses who are from lower economic backgrounds had fallen to the single digits. These students have been replaced by middle to upper class blacks, Africans, Caribbeans, and multiracials like me, which is a very legitimate critique of the effectiveness of our current systems. Then change them. We would all like to fix that issue if in fact that is the end goal here. Because we have centuries of experience to tell us what it looks like if people are left to their own devices. And no, that's not a white thing. That's a human thing. And it is definitely an American thing. Now, speaking of end goals, we know Ackman doesn't care about the anti-Semitism. He couldn't even wait to put his DEI complaint in a different letter. We know Stefanik doesn't care about resumes. She would have kept OnlyFans in Congress. So what's their end goal? Power. DEI takes power away from the wealthy and privileged who are used to using those tools to gain access. They still can and they still do, but it's diluted by any amount of oversight. Don't get it twisted. It's not merit they want, but they will use that argument to ensure they're the ones who can warp what that looks like. And I mean, honestly, questioning Claudine Gay's credentials while Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene sit in Congress is nasty work. Oh, Reese, that's different. They were elected. Oh, okay, fine. How about a couple people that weren't elected? Well, they have great credentials. Well, I don't recall Ivanka Trump or Jared Kushner being considered for high-level state positions until her daddy became president. So am I to believe that that was merit-based? By Stefanik and Ackman's definition, yes, it is. Sounds about white.